Hello everyone, today we are going to demonstrate a project on sinusoidal wave. Here we will plot a graph between the frequency difference of a dual source of sinusoidal wave versus number of beats per second. And we have to show the slope is 1. Myself Parnav Chakraborty and my fellow teammates are myself Vishal Devna, myself Kojan Babu, myself Sai Gorabar, myself Sumit Prasad, and myself Santosh Mera.
We are taking two frequencies 500 Hz and 505 Hz and calculating the number of beats per second. So now let's start 500 Hz frequency, and we are recording here the frequency. The frequency of source 1 is 500 Hz, the frequency of source 2 is 505 Hz, frequency difference is 5 Hz, and number of beats per second we calculated from the experiment. What we get from the experiment is 5 Hz, 5 also. Now for the second experiment, we are taking, for the second time, we are taking frequency of 500 Hz and another frequency of 510 Hz and starting those frequencies here. And again here we are recording and calculating the bit frequencies. Say for the second case, the frequency of source 1 is 500 Hz, the frequency of source 2 is 510 Hz, the frequency difference is 10, and the number of beats per second what we get from the experiment is also 10. The third case, the frequency of source 1 is constant as 500 Hz and the frequency of source 2 is changed to 515 Hz. We are starting those frequencies now. And here we are recording the frequencies. In the third case, the frequency of source 1 is constant as 500 Hz, frequency of source 2 is 515 Hz, frequency difference is 15, and number of beats what we get from the experiment is 16. For the fourth time, we are getting the source as constant 500 and the source 2 frequency is 520, and now we are starting it and recording the frequency here. For the fourth case, the frequency of source 1 is 500 Hz, the frequency of source 2 is 520 Hz, and the frequency difference is 20, and the number of beats what we get from the experiment is also 20. The fifth time, we are taking the frequency of source 1 is 500 and the frequency of source 2 is 525. And now starting those two frequencies. And now we are recording the frequency. Fifth time we are getting that the frequency of source 1 is 500 Hz, frequency of source 2 is 525 Hz, frequency difference is 25, and the number of beats per second what we get from the experiment is 24. For the last time we are taking the reading, the frequency of source 1 is 500 and the frequency of source 2 is 530, and now we are turning those frequency on. And again we are recording it the same way. Last time we are getting that the frequency of source 1 is 500 Hz and the frequency of source 2 is 530 Hz. The frequency difference is 30 and the number of beats per second what we get from the experiment is also 30.
Now plotting graph between frequency difference between two sources and number of beats per second. We take frequency difference of y-axis and number of beats per second on x-axis. As we can see the scaling of the graph, on x-axis 1 mm represents 0.25 units and the same on the y-axis. We have 6 readings as we can see from the table. Plotting all points we get a straight line passing through origin. To calculate slope, we know slope is equal to tan theta. We consider a right angle triangle. We know tan theta is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That is difference of two coordinates lying on the straight line. Hence the slope is 1.